I want everyone to say hello to Christine Brennan. She has been covering sports for about 4 decades. Okay. And recently, one may recall, in the W, Caitlin Clark, when her and her team were in the playoffs, she was on the receiving end of a poke to the eye. And after much speculation, Clark even went on the record to try and diffuse the entire situation. Quote, "It wasn't intentional by any means, just watch the play." She even laughed off the idea that it might have been intentional. But that's when Brennan had the following exchange with DiJonai Carrington, who delivered said unintentional jab.
DiJonai, did you, when you went and kind of swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. But no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her. So obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
Objectively speaking, it's a reporter and journalist, sports writer, what have you, getting a quote. A quote, by the way, that could be used in a new book about Caitlin Clark, written by Christine Brennan. It's set to come out in the year 2025. She would go on CNN, which we will play momentarily. First, for context, the WNBA Players Association released a scathing statement, which I'm going to read to you, to unprofessional members of the media like Christine Brennan. "You are not fooling anyone. That so-called interview in the name of journalism was a blatant attempt to bait a pro athlete into participating into a narrative that is false and designed to fuel racist, homophobic, and misogynistic vitriol on social media. You cannot hide behind your tenure." It'd go on, "Instead of demonstrating the cornerstones of journalism ethics like integrity, objectivity, and a fundamental commitment to truth, you've chosen to be indecent and downright insincere. You have abused your privileges and do not deserve the credentials issued to you, and you certainly are not entitled to any interviews with the members of this union or any other athlete in the sport. Those credentials mean that you can ask anything, but they also mean that you know the difference between what you should and should not ask. We see you." Here's Brennan explaining her side.
And I thought, you know what? The best thing I can do as a journalist is to try to give the athlete an opportunity, which I've done tens of thousands of times, to answer the question and tell us what she believes happens. That was literally it. And as you know, first of all, I'd ask that question, 100 times out of 100. I'd ask it today. The athlete has every opportunity to then take that question and go with it any way she wants. And obviously she did. And so that's the opportunity that I think any journalist gives an athlete when you're covering a story, to give them an opportunity to tell you their side of it.
Obviously, Brennan's outlet, USA Today, did not cower and defended their employee, writing in a statement of their own, which I'm going to read to you. "Journalists ask questions and seek truth. At USA Today, our mission is to report in an unbiased manner. We reject the notion that the interview perpetuated any narrative other than to get the player's perspective directly. Brennan is well regarded as an advocate for women and athletes, but first and foremost, she's a journalist." In that CNN interview, which would be hosted by Jake Tapper, he would ask Brennan her thoughts when seeing the statement by the Players Association. Here was her answer.
I mean, how do you even...
Well, how do you? Yeah, first of all, they never called me. We've heard nothing from them. 72 hours later? I have no answer from them.
I thought Carrington was fine. She handled the question perfectly.
She sure did, yeah. I think this is a window, and I'm working on a book on Caitlin Clark and this entire year in women's sports, the revolution in women's sports. Your daughter is a part of it. What we've seen with our daughters and our nieces. This is all going to be part of a book for Scribner that's coming out in conjunction with next year's WNBA season. And I think what we're seeing is that, once we take a look at this league, and there's a national scrutiny spotlight on this league because of Caitlin Clark, other rookies as well, certainly Angel Reese, but Caitlin Clark's the one with the sellouts and, of course, the TV ratings that have just gone through the roof. What are we seeing? And maybe, is the league ready to handle some of this scrutiny? That's a question I would ask and say, yes, they are, because these are wonderful women who have been in the spotlight for a long time. But for some reason, this has touched a nerve. And I would say the other question I would ask, Jake, is that I would ask that question of a man and have for thousands of times in my career. Ask tough questions of Tiger Woods and Michael Phelps and you name it. Are they saying we cannot ask tough questions, or in this case, not even a tough question, just a fair question of a female athlete?
It's bizarre.
Let's just go over what we took in, okay? Because Brennan says she wanted to give Carrington a platform to answer the online vitriol, like random Twitter users saying it was intentional. The Players Association supported their player because they think there is an agenda with Brennan. Let me just be clear. Ever since, and I know Twitter was never awesome and amazing and flawless, but ever since Elon took over, these sort of issues have been amplified over and over, whether it is election integrity, topics surrounding the election. Misinformation appears, at least to me, to be at an all-time high intentionally since Elon took over because he wants a certain candidate to win. But then we are seeing this bleed over into other topics as well. And we keep having to address these nonsensical tweets from people who pay for Twitter, even though I do believe a lot of them are bots. And it was most pronounced during the Olympics when Imani Khalif was accused of being a man because it caught wind on Twitter. The eye poke, Twitter. Targeting players, Twitter. Like, I question at what point do we stop giving it the energy that it circulates and just leave it. It's practically like a mainstream 4chan at this point. And I know businesses are going to use it and people are still going to use it, and that's fine. But the amount of news stories that come out of nothing, that are made up, that are fabricated because Elon enables it, is preposterous on the surface and also at face, because we should not be doing it. So like even Brennan asking that question, it's because it gained a lot of traction online. And I understand you want to ask a fair question. She says she meant no ill will. Cool. Carrington answered. New York Knicks swingman Josh Hart weighed in and gave a really blunt response on the topic. Quote, or tweet, "They need to start taking media credentials away for stupid questions like this." Look, do I think it was a dumb question? No. But I think when we go and search and find the nucleus of how it gained traction, that is dumb. If Caitlin Clark is laughing it off, then you already know that it is really in bad taste. And I have to reiterate, Christine Brennan is writing a book on Caitlin Clark. Is there an agenda here? Probably. And I mean it in this way. All right. I would guarantee there will be a chapter on how Clark may or may not be getting targeted by players in the league. And Brennan will bring up Kennedy Carter. She will bring up Angel Reese. She will bring up DiJonai Carrington. And with that, she will get a quote on the record. As journalists do, they will seek out more information. They will likely ask teammates of Clark. They'll ask teammates of Carrington. They'll ask Chicago Sky players, executives, coaches, scouts, players, and even of those titles in the front office with the Fever or around the league or the league office. That is likely what is going to happen and be printed in this book. Asking of intent. Get them on the record. And then let the reader judge for themselves. And I got to make it clear, it is all by design. It is. Where I think the WNBPA did a disservice is by talking smack about Brennan and what her record is as a journalist, because she was, as we have seen, the first female reporter at the Miami Herald in 1981. She covered the Washington R-words for some time with the Post, covered the Miami Hurricanes, the Olympics, has been with USA Today Sports for quite a while. But here is where it leaves many with a sour taste in their mouths. And a great example is from a longtime WNBA women's sports writer, Frankie De La Cretas. And she brought up a valid point. Brennan hardly covered the league prior to Caitlin Clark's arrival. So she would write a question on Twitter. Before we get to the tweet, De La Cretaz would write in her newsletter, Brennan's coverage has been problematic all season, something she blocked me for pointing out to her, but it goes beyond just her. One good example, as I was just alluding to, was the tweet when Caitlin Clark was not selected for Team USA. And she saw a quote from Cheryl Reeves saying the WNBA is more than one player, which it is. And De La Cretaz replied, respectfully, can I ask why you have seemingly made it your mission to target the WNBA and everyone associated with it in defense of Caitlin Clark? I implore you to listen to the criticism and feedback you've been given by many people who cover the sport for years. The result, as Frankie noted in the newsletter, Brennan hit block. So, look, I've, along with many other media members, we have been in those press conferences. We have been in those exit interviews. We have been at the lockers of players. And sometimes there is a question that might be like, huh? And it raises eyebrows. But a question is a question. I truly believe this, unless it is bordering on insanity. There are no stupid questions because all you are doing is asking and positing to an athlete. And they could answer however they like. And that is their quote. That's it. Where I think we hit a gray area is after these games, if a journalist, sports writer, reporter, what have you, does have something like a book coming out, then I tend to lean in the direction that you are trying to get information for that book when other media members have a job to do as it pertains to their respective deadlines. And I could go on and on about this, but it is very interesting to see the difference in responses from USA Today responding to the WNBPA, who had a really strong statement against Brennan. I do not believe that she went in with the intent of fueling misogyny, anti-LGBTQ plus rights, fueling racism. But it does seem quite clear, even if she's asking the question to get an answer, it seems quite clear that it was completely unintentional. And now the story is just spiraling, and it continues to spiral as the days go on. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.